Am I the a-hole I did not send my ex-fiance's belongings to her? 3 months ago, Vanessa no-showed me on the day of the wedding. She had not mentioned any disagreements, and I was taken by surprise when she just did not show up at the altar. We had been living together in a rented apartment. I tried reaching her and her parents' numbers, but they had all blocked me, I believe. So I stopped trying to contact them and left the apartment after paying my share of dues. The apartment owner asked me to take her belongings with me as well, but I refused and told him to contact her himself, and I gave him hers and her family's phone numbers and address. I also requested him to not share my new contact details with my ex or her family. I then moved to a different city and rented a studio apartment for myself. My previous apartment owner called me soon after that to say that he had tried contacting her but couldn't reach her, so he left all her belongings at the police station. My ex came to my parents' home a week ago and found me there. She was mad at me for leaving her belongings at the apartment instead of contacting her. Apparently, the apartment owner sued her for not paying rent and going no contact. She had to pay a huge amount to compensate for it. I told her that she should not have blocked me if she was keen on getting her belongings back. Now she's ranting about me on her social media from what I heard from close friends. Maybe I should have tried contacting her more before leaving her belongings there, so that she would not have been sued by the homeowner. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Info. How did she expect you to contact her since she blocked you? I think a provisional NTA is in order. It's not like she didn't know her stuff was there. She also didn't pick up when a landlord called, so her problem appears to be 100% of her own making. I'm sure it stung to be left at the altar, but you've probably realized by now she did you a favor, though I'm sure that wasn't her motivation. She is now with another guy. I think she cheated on me and did not want to confess about it. She didn't want to take responsibility for her own mistake? Color me shocked. I still don't see how she expected you to contact her. In any case, you dodged a bullet by not marrying her, even though it seems she's still determined to create turmoil in yours and your family's lives. Maybe a restraining order is called for here. Yep, maybe you should have tried contacting her more? Like, how exactly? OP, I'm sorry she did that to you. That must have been awfully heartbreaking. That being said, I'm glad you didn't marry this person. You apparently still think that you should have done more. No. Just no. None of that is on you. Maybe you should have tried contacting her more before leaving her belongings there so that she would not have been sued by the homeowner. You did. You tried contacting both her and her parents. After a no-show at the wedding. You do not have to jump through hoops to chase this twit. You are not the a-hole, and your parents need to trespass her from their home. If she shows up there again, call the cops. She blocked you and then got angry you didn't contact her? As long as you squared everything away with the landlord before you left, I'd say that's where your obligations ended. I only paid my share of the dues. I did not clear her dues for her. That's why he sued her. Exactly. You took care of your obligations and you're not obligated to cover her finances. She's a grown adult. The ironic part is that Opie would have had some obligation as spouse if she hadn't left him at the altar. Sounds like Opie dodged a bullet. Next story. Am I the a-hole for barking at my ex? Some background. My ex Ezra, male 40-ish, and I, female 36, split in 2018 when after maybe 6 months in, he started to show some red flags here and there. I ran for the hills, got over him, found my person, and I'm overall happy in my life. That's now. Then I focused on work. Him on his new girlfriend, that lasted maybe 8 months. Their breakup also started to calls. First for support, but they soon evolved into griping sessions I wasn't in the mood for. It got so bad I had to block him, but then emails started coming, so I blocked him there too. In the meantime, I moved with my man, 2 blocks away from my best friend and within a mile from Ezra's baby mama's place. I was on my way home from my BFF's. Lovely night. I'm all tipsy and happy, headphones in and walk dancing through the streets, when all of a sudden a wild Ezra appeared with kid, 13, in tow. Since I didn't hear him calling me, he decided to rip one of my headphones and started yelling this and that. Basically rubbish and how I destroyed his relationship. Never met the girl, so witchcraft it is. And how I'm a huge witch. Well, so I started barking. And kept barking, rising the volume to match his. People were staring, but I'm too tipsy, so I don't give a F. Lucky for him, a clever boy, he got quiet quickly, looked around and left. Eureka! Something works. Since then, every time Ezra bothers me in public, I just bark at him loudly till he runs away. One of common acquaintances is a happy gossip. Apparently, Ezra is, in his own words, traumatized by my behavior. He says I'm crazy, and I'm an a-hole for humiliating him in public. Am I, though? You are a queen. No, you. This is honestly the biggest power move there is. You decided to not play by his rules and give him what he wants. A public fight in front of his kid, and came up with an off-the-wall move that he has no idea how to respond to. Absolutely amazing. Hopefully he'll learn you're the alpha here and leave you alone eventually. Sometimes you just have to be a little louder and boisterous to get people to shut up and leave you alone. As long as you have not initiated a confrontation, shut it down quickly and move along. Your last sentence is exactly what I'm thinking. I've no time for a row in the middle of the street. It's very time effective. 60-second tops and I can go on my own way. You did what you had to do to get away from the crazy ex. If you keep saying that he was traumatized, tell the gossip acquaintance how he assaulted you. Because ripping your headphones is considered ass, and you were so scared that you freaked out and started to bark. Complain that you need therapy now. I'm already in therapy for totally unrelated things. Therapy squared. Thank you so much. It's not as serious of a crime here where I live. Don't worry though, it's not a big issue in my life. He's just a little bee. Pun definitely intended. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for using my ex-wife's maiden name? Ex and I have been divorced almost 10 years. She kept my last name because we have kids or something like that. I wanted her to change it back and told her it was the law that she had to. I don't use my last name for her. I have her in my phone with her old name. When I have to send her a check, I use her old name. When I fill out forms for the schools or doctors, I use her old name. And she says this causes problems, but I'm not sure why. A couple weeks ago, my daughter called her mother during a class at school and asked her what her last name was. Obviously, this made the mother confused. My daughter said that Dad wrote it down as old name, but you always write it as my name. The mother told my daughter that it was my name. The week after that, my daughter brought me a sports paper to sign. The mother had already signed and written her name. Before I signed, I crossed out my name and wrote her old name. My daughter started to cry and said I was disrespecting the mother, but I told her the mother was disrespecting me by keeping my name. Next thing I know, I get a nasty email from the mother telling me to cease and desist using her old name and that her legal name is my name. She said if it happens again, she will take me to family court. I talked to my wife about it, and she said I'm not the a-hole because now that we are married, only she can use my name. She says I should go back to court to force the mother to legally use her old name. My ex-wife says I'm an a-hole because this disrespects her, and that disrespecting her is disrespecting our children. I told her children don't need respect, and I don't respect her at all. So, am I the a-hole for this? You're the a-hole. Last names are not legal property and therefore it's not illegal for your ex to keep your last name. A court cannot and will not force her to change it, so you'd be wasting time and money. So you lied to her. Using her non-legal name means checks will bounce. Her identity cannot be confirmed, etc. That is making it hard for her to be able to identify herself and get the checks you sent her. I think you know that and are doing that in an attempt to get her to change her name back. You play dumb, but I think you really know what you are doing. Stop being a prick to the mother of your children. Quit the crap. You are not creating a good co-parenting relationship with your ex, and it's resulting in anger from your children. Is your name so freaking important? I doubt it is. That you would hurt your own children because of something so stupid? So what if she wants to keep it? If it means she can be easily identified as the mother of the children you share, be able to receive checks, and do her duty as a parent to your kids, then that is of no concern to you. Pull your head out of your bottom and stop being an a-hole. You're the a-hole. You should love your child more than you hate your ex-wife. That is all that needs to be said. OP is so concerned about being an a-hole to his ex that he doesn't care about hurting his children, and it's pathetic, OP. You're the a-hole. It's not the law that your ex changed her name back to her maiden name. Her name is legally the last name she changed it to when she married you. You're putting down the wrong name every time you put down her maiden name on something. It could cause a lot of issues. She might not be able to cash checks you write her in that name. If you fill out medical forms with her maiden name, it doesn't match her ID, which has her legal name on it. The one she changed it to when she got married to you. You're not only being disrespectful, you're causing actual problems. She didn't steal anything. It's so true. It can cause, and already causes, so many problems legally wise. I can't stress enough how irritating it is that you hunt her and change her legal details without her consent, while complicating things for her. And since you brought the legal aspect, there's a solid chance that it's illicit or borderline illicit to change her legal details without her consent. It's not illicit to keep her marital name, that's for sure. You're the offender here. And if I was in her position, I would take you to court a long time ago. I don't know how she has the patience to deal with it for a decade. Next story. Am I the a-hole for no longer helping my girlfriend? My girlfriend has a history of bringing animals home with no real regard for the people she lives with. I found out only after I had already moved out with her that her parents had kicked her out previously for the same issue. This isn't the reason she moved in with me. She had moved back in with her parents after not being able to financially sustain herself before I met her. When we moved in together, she had 5 cats and 4 dogs. My allergies were an issue, and cleaning and looking after the animals was pretty demanding both in terms of time and finances, and I never really had any animals before, so it was quite a stressful adjustment. However, she got a bit too comfortable with me helping so much, so I was the only one taking care of them, and the bulk of their food and toys and vet bills were coming out of my pocket. I blew through a large amount of savings because of this, which led to a lot of arguments. I tried communicating that I needed a change, and I couldn't keep doing what I was. All she ever really told me is that adult life isn't cheap, and losing finances is part of life. Things got worse after she lost her job, and I now also had to cover her rent. Everything I had saved up for a car over the last 2 years was now gone, which really depressed me. I checked out of the situation and stopped caring for her animals, only paying for absolute necessities so they were at least fed, until she found a job. I told her they weren't my animals, and that we just can't support so many while we both have full-time jobs, rent and other bills to pay. This caused her to reevaluate, and she ended up rehoming some of them so things could be easier. She's now been saying she gave up her animals for me. She wants another dog or a cat, and she's tired of me limiting what she has. It's been a repeated conversation. We're currently living paycheck to paycheck, and we just can't afford to have another animal. I told her I will refuse to help or provide until our situation gets better, and she called me manipulative and controlling. Sounds like the one who should be rehomed is your girlfriend. Yeah, buddy, you need to totally reevaluate this relationship with her. This will not change without getting her some therapy or counseling, or it totally consumes your life with her. Hoarding animals is just as much a psychological problem as hoarding anything else. The complete lack of financial awareness is a really critical problem here. She moved back with her parents because she was financially unable to be alone. They kicked her out because she was probably financially mistreating them over the animals. She was financially abusing the situation with Opie until he woke up and put his foot down. And now she's accusing him of being the cause of her not being allowed to have animals, rather than realizing it is simply a reality that she cannot afford them. If she doesn't start to understand the financial reality for her situation, and get help for her hoarding of animals, she will just get worse to the point that nobody can deal with her. She's giving up her animals for you while you have given up your savings for a car for her. Sounds like she can only see her sacrifice and unable to recognize yours. Try to focus the conversation with her about what you two are trying to achieve, and if owning many animals at this time really helps you to reach your shared goals from a financial perspective. Not stay home. That sucks about your savings. Her calling you controlling and manipulative is cruel. Unless I was married or committed, I wouldn't pay for anything but gifts or an emergency towards a partner's animal. It's their responsibility. I would question her rational reasoning skills. She sounds like the manipulative one. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted after I found out my husband ran a secret background check on me before we got married? We've been married for 3 years, and I only just found out recently that before we got married, my husband ran a background check on me and my family. I found out because we were on vacation with his family, and they were doing things I had no interest in participating in a few times, so I stayed behind. He let me borrow his laptop because I left mine at home. I made a folder with my name, and I was searching for it when I found another folder with my name. The folder was full of reports on me, my family, including extended family, and 2 of my childhood friends. I read as much of the reports as I could before my husband and his family came home for the day. At first, I was just hurt he would do something like this without talking to me first, but as I read more and started finding out things about my family and friends that I never even knew, I started to get angry. It's hard to put it into words, but I felt like I had gone cold all over, but also like it wasn't me reading these things. So when I saw my husband, I exploded on him in front of his family. At first he tried to say it wasn't a big deal, and his cousin chimed in to say it was normal, and he wasn't the only one who had done it in their family. When he saw I wasn't calming down, he tried to get me to go into our room so we could talk about it privately, but I told him I wasn't going anywhere with him and I was leaving. My husband told me to stay, and he would sleep somewhere else or he would leave, but we were staying in a house owned by his parents, and it felt weird for me to stay and make him leave, especially since his family were still there too. I ended up staying at a hotel for the night, and we both flew home shortly after that, cutting the vacation short. Am I the a-hole? I'm going with not the a-hole just based on how extensive the search seemed to be. I don't think it's super unusual to do a background check on someone, but the fact that it's your family, extended family, and friends leads me to believe that this is some U-level stalky BS, and I'd freak out too. Lol, so funny but true. Joe would be proud. If the family was like politicians and extremely wealthy type people, maybe it would seem normal or whatever. But without that context, I agree. Not the a-hole. At first, they tried to say it wasn't a big deal. Anytime somebody reaches for the not a big deal and tries to tell the upset person how to feel, they're being a-holes. And his cousin chimed in to say it was normal and he wasn't the only one who had done it in their family. Sounds like the family have normalized a-holes. I wonder if telling an angry person that what they're angry about isn't a big deal has ever worked a single time. I'm gonna go with no. Lol. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my husband's pregnant sister and making him choose between me and her? My female 25, husband male 28 doesn't have a job. He takes care of the house chores while at work. His sister, female 22, came to stay with us a few weeks ago because of a fight she had with her parents. Neither wanted to tell us what happened. I didn't want her here. She isn't in school, doesn't work, doesn't do anything to help with the chores, is a spoiled brat, acts entitled, etc. I only agreed to let her stay here for a week. It's been 6 weeks. I honestly can't stand to live with her anymore. She makes a mess everywhere, has parties when me and hubby aren't home, plays music on max volume till 4 in the morning. She's rude, breaks stuff, and disrespects all my boundaries and house rules. Finances aren't good either with the extra expenses. So last night I sat them down and told them that she needs to leave in a week because I'm done. I haven't had a real night's sleep in 6 weeks. The apartment is a mess because my husband can't keep up with the mess she makes. And I'm reaching rock bottom with the expenses. He asked if I would let her stay if she would get a job, and I said yes. That would mean she won't have the energy to stay up till 4 a.m. and make a mess, and she will also contribute financially. She ran out screaming that she isn't getting a job, and that I'm a witch. I called mother-in-law and asked her again why they had a fight. Well, she's pregnant. Baby daddy disappeared into the night when he heard the news. She expected her parents to provide and they said no, so she came here. I told my husband and he was shocked but said we can't kick her out now. I said, yes we can, and we are. I will not be financially responsible for her anymore. I will not be financially responsible for her child. I will not have a child in my home as I strongly dislike kids. I don't need the noise, the mess, the smell, the extra expenses. Hubby said he understands that I don't want any of this, but we can't kick her out because she has nowhere to go since his parents won't let her move back home. I simply said either she goes or I go. I'm sick of him enabling her behavior. He always makes excuses for her. He bends backwards for her. Well, I'm not going to. She is an adult. She isn't in school. She doesn't work. She wants to have a baby? Okay, then she needs to grow up and provide for herself. She isn't disabled, sick, mentally incapacitated, or anything else that would stop her from working. She just doesn't want to work. Her parents spoiled her too much when she was younger, and now she thinks the world revolves around her. My friends and my in-laws agree with me, but my parents say I'm the a-hole for kicking out a pregnant girl and making my husband choose between me and her. I'm not changing my decision no matter what. If she's not out in a week, I will be. But I'm curious if I'm the a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law, huge a-hole. Your husband, enabling a-hole. If your parents want to take her spoiled butt in, great. If they don't, then they can stop being a-holes about your decision. You literally took the words out of my mouth. Mom and Dad, her own parents won't shelter her. But if you want to, I'll share your address and you can provide her with a home and pay for her expenses and clean up after her. Your husband, I'm sorry, is not very smart. He doesn't work or provide any financial contribution, and he can't even clean up enough behind one person or cause her to be less messy. And this solution after she can't go to school or get a job or behave like a good roommate or clean up after herself is that she deserves a place to stay because she got herself pregnant and has no plan, when even his own parents won't shelter her, is we have to house her now. That way we can not only do all of these bad things but also be responsible for her child. You and your husband should talk to your in-laws. They are the ones who created this monster, and he's the one who keeps feeding it, not the a-hole. In-laws aren't going to do anything. They kicked the sister out but refused to tell their son why so that he'd take her in and she'd become his problem. Bet if sister does get kicked out, Opie and her husband will catch grief from the in-laws for kicking out his pregnant sister. Not the a-hole, but Opie, you already have 2 kids in the house and you're just trying to get rid of one of them. Make it a twofer and reclaim your life. If Opie does that, the Xbox and couch will get lonely. Not the a-hole. If your parents say you're the a-hole, then let them take care of her themselves. If your friends and even her own parents agree with you, then I don't think you need any more confirmation from anyone. You don't need to feel guilty over this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for pulling my attendance from my sister's wedding after already RSVPing yes? I lost my husband and the father of my children 5 years ago. We had been together from the age of 17, had married in our 20s, and he passed at the age of 31. Our children were very young. The last 5 years, I have missed him like crazy, and have poured myself into focusing on my children, my hobbies, and even furthering my career more. I have no interest in dating or finding a new partner. My sister and a couple of other family members have been trying to encourage me to find a new partner, to find a dad for my kids, to look for more love. I have zero interest. It's something I have discussed with my sister on repeat and she has told me she doesn't understand. Even as a teen, I had zero interest in dating. My husband was the exception. I loved him. I was best friends with him. We were compatible in every way, and we found a relationship that worked for the two of us and gave us a life better than we had planned on. My interest in dating has not sparked now in my 30s and widowed. I have pleaded with my sister to understand, to know that I am living the life I want to live, and that I am not some broken-hearted shell who has paused my life. It seemed as though she accepted it. She announced her engagement months ago, sent invites for her February wedding in December, and she and her fiancé left a note that they would cover the cost of the hotel for me, because they are aware I am now a single mom, and that leaving my 3 kids with my in-laws covers some expense but not all. So, I RSVP'd yes. Then over Christmas, my brother told me my sister has rounded up many single men to invite to the wedding, and she has recruited some people to help her play matchmaker for me at her wedding. He said it was why she paid for the hotel for me and everything. I was not happy. The friend she recruited to help confirmed it to me too. She said my sister has been wanting to find me the perfect man and has planned it all. I was so done at this point that I called my sister, told her I knew what she was up to, and I would no longer be attending her wedding, and I was not going to trust her again. She got so upset and told me I was overreacting. My parents also chimed in and told me the same. They said I could just ignore her plan and attend and support my sister. My sister keeps telling me I need to come, and then she got mad saying she's trying to save me from myself. The controversy is rumbling almost a week after I told her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You don't want to date. That is valid, and that's what your sister needs to accept. Whether or not you find a partner should be done entirely on your timeline and terms, not hers. The sister sounds like a monster. Attempting to surprise Opie by ignoring their boundaries and playing matchmaker at her own wedding? Like, come on, she needs to stop trying to force it. Sounds like Opie's sister hopes that without the kids in tow, she'll let her hair down. And with a hotel room at the venue, she'll be comfortable drinking more than she usually would, letting her inhibitions down and maybe ending up hooking up with someone. Freaking awful. Not the a-hole. She doesn't get to decide when it's time for you to move on. It was a scummy move for her to set up this whole scheme behind your back, and I don't blame you for not going. Yup. Especially since Opie has told her repeatedly that she does not want to date. Sister is just another busybody trying to save people from themselves. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. How does she even have the time to set up such an elaborate scheme when she's supposed to be planning a wedding? Not sure, but it's probably why she recruited others to help her. Screw her, and go no contact with all of them until they understand. Don't let your parents have access to your children either. I have a feeling they'll poison the kids against you for not giving them a new dad. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wearing my engagement ring when I knew my stepsister was getting engaged? I, 28 female, got engaged at the beginning of December. For Christmas, I was staying with my mom and stepdad, and they were hosting my stepdad's whole family. Step-siblings, mother, brothers, cousins, plus families for a New Year's party. Prior to this, my stepsister, 29 female, Rachel's now fiancé Matt, informed my parents that he was going to propose and asked if it would be okay to do it at a party, and my parents agreed. For the party, everyone was dressing up, and obviously I was wearing my engagement ring. Everybody already knew I was engaged, but it was the first time they'd seen the ring in person. So, at the start of the party, everyone was interested in seeing it. I did notice Matt was being a bit cold with me, but I thought it was nerves. The proposal happened and it was beautiful. Everyone congratulated Rachel, but it was kind of a 50-50 on people wanting to look at and compliment her ring and mine. A lot of comparisons were made, nothing in kind, and everyone was really happy for Rachel, as was I. The day after, Rachel and Matt blew up about me wearing my ring to the party. Rachel said I was deliberately trying to draw attention to myself on her special night, and that since I knew beforehand that she was getting engaged, I shouldn't have worn my ring, since I don't always wear it anyway. I don't really agree with this, since I've been engaged for weeks and everyone already knew about it. It's not like I stole her thunder, nor did I intend to by wearing my ring. I wore it because I'm engaged, so it's what you do. Matt then accused me of embarrassing him by wearing my colossally large ring, when I knew Rachel's wouldn't be anywhere near as big, and intentionally showing him up in front of the family. He even went on about the other jewelry I wore. My stepdad called them both stupid for their outburst. My stepbrother says there's no way I could have known that's how they'd feel. It's not like they asked me not to wear it. My mom says while she knows I didn't do it deliberately, she can see where Rachel is coming from, since everyone preferred my ring to hers. She also said that given that my ring is quite unique, I should have considered it would draw attention. Edit. I don't always wear it when I'm loafing around the house all day because I paint and bake and play with my dogs. It's heavy and gets caught in things. I don't not wear it because it's ostentatious. If I'm dressed and going out, even to the grocery store, I wear it. Just not when I'm doing house things. Now for the top comments. Not the whole. You are engaged. It is normal for you to wear your ring, especially at family occasions. What's next? Can you not bring your husband to their wedding because any reminder that anyone else has ever gotten married would be upstaging their day? I'm confused. Shouldn't Opie be wearing her ring all the time? Possibly except while bathing or bread baking? I know I kept mine on 24/7. Not the a-hole. You don't stop being engaged just because other people get engaged. Also, if he feels you stole the thunder because your ring is nicer, he's completely missing the point of marriage. I'm thinking this is it, the ring envy. Not the a-hole. You didn't get engaged at a party. People already knew you were engaged. And this was an annual holiday get-together where people hadn't seen you in person for a while. Rachel and Matt are being silly, and your stepdad is right. This was stupid. But it was Rachel's special night. Rachel acts like the whole party was her engagement party, instead of a family gathering where she happened to get engaged. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my brother to share his daughter's inheritance from our cousin with my stepdaughter? My cousin Laura passed last year, which was devastating for our whole family. There is now some conflict with the inheritance. Laura's will left everything to her husband and future children, but if not, a third would go to her parents and a third to charity. The final third to be divided between 6 nibblings accessible when they turn 18. Laura was an only child, so the nibblings in question are her cousin's kids. Me and my brother are her only cousins from her mom's side, my aunt, but from her dad's she has 9. From all of us, there are a total of 7 kids, including my brother's daughter and my stepdaughter. And me and my stepdaughter were hurt when we realized my stepdaughter wasn't a part of this third. Recently, I brought up to my brother that he should share niece's inheritance with my stepdaughter.
I said it's more fair this way and would lower resentment between the kids later on. My niece is only 5 compared to my stepdaughter who's 16, so it would be more useful for her in the near future. Also, I'm not saying it has to be half and half, but just a portion for stepdaughter. My brother didn't take this well and went off, saying the money is for his daughter and we're being greedy. But I got upset and said, no one in this family really cares about stepdaughter and are more focused on blood ties. He's angry with me, but some other people who know what happened is on my side. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Like a lot. This is incredibly bad form on your part. Your cousin chose who she wanted her estate to be divided amongst. Does it suck that your stepdaughter wasn't one of the people? Sure, that doesn't give you the right to demand that somebody give her a share of the inheritance. That's just crude and gross. It stood out to me that Opie's only asking the blood brother to give up a portion of his child's. I wonder why Opie isn't asking the other cousins. Oh, that's right. They aren't related. The irony. Yup. I guess blood ties matter to Opie when convenient. Fact is that cousin's will sounds quite specific. It is not Opie's right to demand things from people who've received their rightful share based on cousin's decisions. So let me reverse this one for you. Your stepdaughter receives an inheritance from either her mother or father's family. Are you going to give chunks of it out to the other kids? After all, you wouldn't want there to be a resentment because your stepdaughter got something and they didn't, right? And if your family, after finding out about your stepdaughter's inheritance, called and said that she should fork over some of it over to make things fair, would you agree to it? Or would you say that they weren't related to her family, so they should get nothing? You're disrespecting your cousin's wishes by doing this. You are being entitled, and you are teaching your stepdaughter entitlement. You are demanding that your niece have less, so your stepdaughter can have something. And you don't think that would cause resentment when she grows up and finds out? You want to take your niece's money from her, and your reasoning is that she's 5 and doesn't need it, as if that money can't be put away for when she does need it. I'm going to be honest, you're behaving like a vulture. Your cousin dies and you don't think you've got fair share of the meat, so you're trying to snatch it out of the mouths of others. Do you really think this is acceptable? If your brother passes first, will you demand his daughter hand over some of her inheritance to your stepdaughter to make things fair? Because that is where your logic is taking you. You're the a-hole and you owe your brother an apology. An inheritance is a privilege, not a right. You could have explained this to your stepdaughter, pointed out lots of others weren't included and told her that money doesn't equal love. Instead, you want to snatch money from your niece. Do better. Also, while it sucks in some situations, blood ties are very important to people. Exactly. Thing is, if Opie's stepdaughter inherited things and his brother asked for some of it, even if his brother and niece had a relationship with whoever left the inheritance, I'm sure Opie's answer would be that they aren't related so they get nothing. Also, I'm sure if this situation were reversed, Opie would be appalled. I just noticed this is money in a trust to be accessed when the kids are 18. So Opie is asking his brother to raid his niece's trust. That's so scummy and could get the brother into trouble. This isn't about blood or people not loving/caring about his stepdaughter. It's about morality. No one else who wasn't left anything is proposing to take money from a 5-year-old.
Am I the a-hole for rudely inviting my sister-in-law to leave and get some therapy for the way she kept talking about my child? My wife's 32 female younger sister, 24 female, is in college in our area. Her lease was temporary where she was living, so she's staying with us while she looks for a new place. Honestly, I, 30 male, am not a big fan of hers. She's kind of bratty, but what really made me not stand her is her attitude with our 10-month-old son. Anytime the subject of my son/kids come up, she finds a way to make it about her being child-free. Example 1, when we announced our pregnancy to her family. Everyone was happy for us. Her reaction was, ew, that's so gross. Then telling us sorry, it's just weird for her thinking about being pregnant and glad she's never going to. That already put us off and soured the moment. Didn't change throughout my wife's pregnancy, so we ignored her. After our son was born, she threw a fit because my in-law sent her a couple of pictures and she called my wife asking to tell her their parents not to send her anything because not everyone cares about babies. We weren't the ones who sent it to her, but still mad at us for shoving our baby down her throat. My wife's gotten mad about her attitude, but her folks says she's expressing herself and not to take it personally. When we let her move in, it got worse. If my son cries, she loudly says, "Oh my God, shut him up. See? This is why yada yada won't have kids, etc." He's so annoying. He's so needy. Makes dramatic gaggy noises when we're feeding him fruits and tells us to take him somewhere else for that, which we don't. And my wife just tells her to freaking deal with it. I can understand someone personally not liking kids and never wanting any. What I don't is going out of your way to always talk about how much you hate them. Anything my son does, she always has to say something, and I don't appreciate that negativity towards my child. Earlier, my son hit his head and started crying. I calmed him down after a minute, and without asking for her opinion, she says, "You guys had months to abort. You did this to yourselves." So I snapped at her that if she hates babies so much, then she's welcome to get the hell out of my house. Don't understand what deep hate she has for kids, but maybe get some therapy because it's one thing to not like them. It's another to always want to make it known how much she despised them. And that I was tired of her annoying rants while she's eating our food for free, complaining about the baby while she's acting like one herself. So yeah, it was quite a bit what I said. She didn't say anything after, but told my wife. Then their parents. The reason they think I was a jerk is because I threatened her living situation when she wouldn't have any place to go right now and were her only option. My wife agrees with me, which triggered an argument with her parents. I get she's still young and dumb, so that's why I'm asking if I'm the a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but screw her. She needed a place to stay and she knew a baby lived there. So she has no reason or right to complain. She doesn't get to sit there and make awful statements about your kid and lives, and being completely disrespectful in your home for free. Tell your wife that this is your hill to die on. Her sister's actions have consequences, and if her parents don't like it, they can pay for her to come live with them or a hotel room. You don't have to take that kind of mistreatment in your own home. Your kid doesn't deserve it either. Young child cries about banging head, and her first response was that you could have terminated him? Who the hell says that? Also, if her parents think that it's okay for her to behave like this towards their grandchild, then I may not want them around my kid either. Not today home. Jesus Christ. She implied you should have terminated your child just because she didn't like hearing him cry. She's got some issues. I would have reacted the same way you did. Yeah, and not like I was venting or having any sort of trouble with him. He calmed down once I picked him up and we snuggled on a couch. There wasn't any reason for her to say anything like that at all. Dude, even if he was throwing the biggest tantrum ever, telling you that you had months to abort is unconscionable. She's lucky you didn't toss her out on her butt right then and there. Not today home. She sealed the deal with a procedure comment. Consequences of her own actions. She sounds frankly awful. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my mother-in-law nicely to hand over the baby for feeding? Hi, I'm a new mom. Had my son 5 weeks ago. My husband's parents have been staying with us and things have been super overwhelming. Mother-in-law has a habit of taking the baby and refusing to give him back to me. Should say I'm deliberately ruining her time with him. My son needs feeding every 2 hours, and she basically makes me beg her to hand him over to me so I could feed. Last night at 10 p.m., mother-in-law had my son in her arms while sitting on the couch with my husband and his dad. I was exhausted. The baby started crying. I told my mother-in-law to hand him over to me so I could feed him. She refused, and I kept asking. My husband starts talking about what a whiny little girl I was to complain that our son is receiving love and cuddles, and how I'm using feeding as an excuse to keep the baby away from his mom. I ignored him and told his mom to hand over the baby. She refused and said I needed to wait a little longer. I got angry at this point. My husband said I could take the baby after I asked his mom nicely. This had me seething, so I meanly told his mom to stop being annoying and overbearing and hand him over to me. She looked at me shocked and hurt. She handed the baby over and ran into the guest room, and my husband gave me a look, then followed her and stayed inside to comfort her. He came into the room while I was feeding my son and started yelling about how disrespectful it was to speak to his mom this way and treat her poorly, when all she's doing is showing our son more love than I do. I told him about how she's been taking the baby for hours and preventing me from feeding him properly. And he said that 1, our son isn't an object for me to act like I own him. 2, his mom was doing nothing wrong. And 3, I should have asked nicely instead of being a witch to his mom and making her cry. I started crying and yelled that I'd go to my mom's place if his parents stay any longer. And he yelled back saying, "Shut the heck up. You're only acting up because you don't want my parents around. Heck's wrong with you?" Then walked out. I felt terrible thinking maybe I was rude to his mom, but I also think that I'd hit my limits here. Am I the a-hole for not asking her nicely like my husband wanted? Not the a-hole. Pack your gear and take baby to your parents. Rethink your relationship as well. Who the hell speaks to their wife like that, especially after having baby? Protect your mental/physical health at all cost. OP, your husband is prioritizing his mother's emotional wants over your 5-week-old baby's physical needs. Get out now. This is only going to escalate, and he's already shown his own child isn't his top priority. That's not normal. That's terrifying. Yes. Who the hell berates his wife in front of his parents for a biological necessity, and then starts yelling and cussing in a room with a newborn in it? Not stay home, but OP needs to get out now. And I hope the husband doesn't get any type of custody. Sometimes the worst in people comes out after a child is born. It is far too common that abusers don't let down the facade of loving spouse until their soon-to-be victim is forever tied to them with a child. If OP's husband didn't show his true colors until the baby arrived, the speed with which he is escalating this is severely alarming. It's for this reason OP needs to leave now. She needs to either have her parents show up, help her pack the necessities and leave, or if her parents aren't able to, she needs the police to assist in a smooth exit. Not day-hole at all, and I'm very alarmed at your husband calling you a whiny little girl for trying to feed your child, and then attempting to prevent him from being fed even when he was crying, until you ask his mother nicely for permission to feed your own child. You seriously need to evaluate if this is a safe environment for your child to be raised in. The father is an a-hole for running after the grandma not supporting his wife. He seems like a child himself. Unbelievable. I am not a mother, and I even know that babies need to be fed regularly as newborns. Also, why is mother-in-law trying to bond with the baby so badly? It's not her kid. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for quietly leaving my boyfriend's family Christmas when his mom was trying to set him up with a next-door neighbor in front of me? I visited my boyfriend's family for the first time and it was so awkward. I was literally just sitting there at dinner and his mom starts talking about how the neighbor girl is single and pretty and a good Christian, and she was going to invite her to New Year's. I was sitting there like, WTF? It felt like she was trying to put me in my place or something. And despite my boyfriend declining, he was being very unassertive about it when I would have been saying, "What the absolute heck are you saying, Mom?" in his shoes. So I got up, got my casserole, cake, pint wine from the kitchen, and headed out. Drove home to my place, and texted my boyfriend, "Not here for this reality dating show drama, lol. Is your mom always like this?" He asked me where I was, and I said I'd headed out. I'm not into the trashy reality TV drama vibe. He asked where, and I said I was at home. He said he didn't want me to spend Christmas alone, and I said, "Come on by then." And he felt conflicted because his family was already tense after they realized I'd left with my cooking and a dessert. I said, "Come by or don't, just tell me when you figure it out." But then I ate a bunch of casserole and cake, drank a lot of wine, and fell asleep. My boyfriend was texting and calling a lot when I was asleep, but I missed it all. He had apparently decided to leave the party and spend a night with me, but when I didn't answer, he ended up staying. The next day, I asked him if he sorted things out with his mom so she doesn't go saying that crap anymore. He said he wasn't interested when it was happening. I asked if he could have a serious talk after the fact, because I was there when it was happening and I don't think she got it. He wasn't sure, so I just made other plans for New Year's because even though he'd invited me to this, I wanted a good time and not to be dealing with pettiness. My boyfriend was frustrated I dipped on New Year's too, and it's been an ongoing argument. I think he should have chewed out his mom on Christmas for being petty and weird. He thinks I shouldn't have ghosted with my food, especially because I'd brought a few big parts of the Christmas dinner. Am I the a-hole for dipping on Christmas dinner? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Hell yes, you're my hero. Now, if boyfriend can't step up and be yours by having your back, he shouldn't get your dessert either. Only way it could have been better is if she'd pulled an Uno reverse and done the same thing to boyfriend's father. Hey, boyfriend's father. My neighbor just got divorced. She's single, pretty, and she's a very bad Christian. Interested? Not the a-hole. Sorry you had to deal with that BSOP, but you should be proud of how you responded. Not the a-hole. The only question is, why are you still with this guy? He seems to be missing a spine, which, in my opinion, makes him a poor partner. Yes, what you see here is in fact a slinky. It bends in every direction depending on which direction it is pushed, but it isn't fully committed to any. Wait, you got up from the table, picked up the casserole, the cake, the pie, and the wine. You must have made more than one trip from the kitchen to the car, and none of them noticed you were gone? No one tried to stop you or apologize? Your boyfriend only asked where you were after you texted him. I think you need to warn the next door neighbor what she's in for with this wonderful sample of humanoid garbage. Haha, honestly, I would have hated to be in her shoes. She came to New Year's thinking she and her family were invited as a family friend, and found out when she arrived that she was there to be set up with some random guy who already had a girlfriend. I didn't think to warn her because I didn't expect her to actually come, but apparently she did, and it was awkward. Wait. So after her awful comments and the fact that you left, that witch doubled down and actually invited a poor girl to New Year's Eve? And your boyfriend had nothing to say? Nope, it'd be kicked to the curb if it were me. Yep. I honestly wasn't expecting her to go, but apparently she was under the impression that her whole family was invited as family friends. I feel so bad. That must have been so awkward. Apparently 30 minutes in, she got a stomachache and went home. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for insisting that my boyfriend pay me for breaking my $3,500 model ship? My female 33 dad passed away and left me one of his last and favorite ship model, and I had it on display in my living room. But for some reason, I never actually mentioned it to my boyfriend, male 37 of 6 months. Maybe because we don't live together and he doesn't visit often. The other day, he and his friends came over to my place to celebrate his birthday. They got drunk and started throwing the sofa's pillows at each other. I told them to stop, then went into the kitchen to clean up. I then started hearing loud noise. I walked out the kitchen and saw my model ship in my boyfriend's hands. I rushed to get it, but he passed it on to his friend, and then his friend passed it on to the other friend. I started running around trying to catch it while yelling at them to stop. Then my boyfriend grabbed it again. I was so angry I told him to hand it over, but he said I needed to kiss him first. I yelled at him and I tried to throw it to his friend who tried to catch it, but it missed and hit the wall and broke. I lost it. Kicked all of his friend out, then had a fight with him, telling him this was a sentimental item from dad. I demanded that he pay me $3,500 because this is how much it costs. He left, then called in the morning asking if I was serious about wanting him to pay $3,500, and I said I was dead serious. He started making excuses, saying he was drunk. And also, I never told him about this ship and how important it was for me before, both monetarily and sentimentally, so that's on me. We had another fight, and then I hung up upon telling him I'm expecting the $3,500 and that I wasn't afraid to take the legal route if I have to. He kept texting asking me to let it go and saying it was cruel of me to threaten him with the law. He had his friends apologize thinking this would be it, but I insisted that he pay me. I get that I might have worked up over an item and treated my boyfriend badly, but to me it seemed like recklessness on his part. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. But he's 37 and treats you, mocking you that night, and your possessions like that? You deserve better. Yes, he's 37. He claims to be outgoing and is a child at heart, but everything has limits. Being a child at heart to me means that he can partake of enjoying things with a joyful, respectful appreciation. He and his friends did not do this. So sorry this happened. For me, being a child at heart is still getting happy/excited while watching Tom and Jerry, not whatever he did. not stay home. Ship ahoy! What shall we do with a drunken boyfriend? / what shall we do with a bully boyfriend? / what shall we do with a loser boyfriend with a breaks an earlobe? Dump him. I was waiting for a walk the plank moment. Nope, not stay home. I don't take new partners or guests on a tour of my home that indicates everything's value, so they know what's financially or emotionally viable for them to break. These people were in your house, disrespecting your things, and broke something important to you. He absolutely should be paying for it to be replaced or repaired.